and used to build their applications using this approach. But because it lacks security and reusability, the object-oriented programming approach has been replaced with a new approach or a concept called as procedural programming approach. What is that? Procedural programming approach. So what is this? Sorry, I'm saying wrong. The procedural programming approach is replaced with object-oriented programming approach. First we have procedural programming, no security and reusability, and that is replaced with object-oriented programming, which provides you security and reusability. And all this started in the late 70s or the early 80s. Late 70s or the early 80s, object-oriented programming is born. Okay? So, first, this is one of the successful approaches that are used in the industry for building applications. By replacing the old procedural programming approach. By replacing old procedural programming approach, which doesn't provide security and reusability. Who doesn't provide security and reusability? Procedural programming approach doesn't provide security and reusability, whereas object-oriented programming provides you both security also, reusability also. Is it clear, all of you? This is the first important thing to remember. What is that? Earlier we have procedural, no security, reusable, replaced with object-oriented. Okay. Now, the first object-oriented language is C++, followed by Python, Java, .NET languages. So many languages are there which are object-oriented in the market. But the big question what we have in our minds is, sir, when can we call a language as object-oriented? Did you get the question? When can we call a language as object-oriented? You're telling object-oriented now. So when can I call a language as object-oriented? Okay, remember. If at all you wanted to call a language as object-oriented, mainly, the language has to satisfy four important rules that are prescribed under the object-oriented programming. There are four important rules that are prescribed under object-oriented programming standards. Okay. So, next thing, examples of object-oriented languages: C++, Python, Java, C#, F#, VB, all lot of languages are there. All these are object-oriented. Okay. Next, to call a language as object-oriented, that language has to satisfy four rules that are prescribed under the standards of object-oriented program. Or otherwise, a language to be called as object-oriented, needs to satisfy, 4 rules. 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 4 rules that are prescribed under the standards of object-oriented programming. Are you clear? And those are, first one, encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism. I repeat, a language to be called as object-oriented needs to satisfy 4 rules that are prescribed under the standards of object-oriented, and those are encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism. So what are these, sir? What is encapsulation? What is abstraction? What is inheritance? And what is polymorphism? That will be a big confusion or a question mark in our minds. What is what? Okay, let me clarify what is what. Say, listen. Before I talk about this encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism, listen to me carefully. What is it? Any language, if it satisfies these 4 principles, we call that as object-oriented. And we'll be in a confusion. Sir, what are these 4? Because you may think like you did not learn them in our C language. In C language, we did not learn about them. Yes or not? But before I explain you these 4, I want to give a clarification for all of you. What you know? Everyone sitting in the classroom, whether you know or whether you learnt about object-oriented programming earlier or not, no matter, all of you know these 4. So you may say, I did not learn C++, sir. Or you may say, I did not learn any object-oriented programming approach or language earlier. No need, no problem. But all of you know these 4. These are nothing new, guys. What are these 4, you know? These 4 are something what we adopt in our day-to-day life. These 4 are some principles what we adopt in our day-to-day life. The same thing we are trying to now apply in our application development now. Are you following me or not? These 4 are nothing but the same what we are applying in our day-to-day life, or now we are trying to apply in the application development. That's all. What we apply in the application development, the same we are trying to apply in our day-to-day life now. And that's what exactly we call as encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. Okay, so let me clarify about all these 4 now. What is encapsulation, what is abstraction, what is inheritance, and what is polymorphism? Let us try to understand about all these things. Okay, now? Actually, what is encapsulation means? Wrapping. Encapsulation is not about wrapping. We are doing that wrapping already from day 1. We are writing all our code inside a class. We are writing all our code inside a class. And that's what we call as encapsulation. So encapsulation is nothing but wrapping the code under a container called as class. Are you clear? So what do you achieve with this, you know? Encapsulation basically, in other words, simply we can call it as hiding the data. Hiding the data. Where are you hiding? We are hiding this data under a class. Under a class, where a class is a wrapper for the logic. And all of us know this. What is it? A wrapper always protects the content that is present inside of it. A wrapper always protects the content that is present inside of it. Wrappers will protect the content. Correct or not? Wrappers will protect. See, we wear a dress. A dress is a wrapper for our body, man. And the dress what we wear is also according to the season. It is all according to the season. For summer, we try to wear woolen cloths. In summer, we try to wear cotton. In winter, we try to wear woolen. Correct? According to the season, we wear the clothes now. So that is also protection to our body. So the same thing I'm telling you here. What is it? To protect our members of a program, to protect the members of a program, we are trying to enclose these members inside a class, inside a wrapper now. Okay? And that wrapper is called as a class. But do you do that in procedural programming? Do you do that in procedural programming? Means no, we don't follow or we don't do this in procedural programming, guys. And I remember I shown you this picture already. Watch it. In a procedural program, you directly write the members. But in an object-oriented program, we are not writing the members directly, and these members are wrapped up inside of a class. And that class is the container for all your members. Is it clear? The class is a container for all your members, and everything is wrapped inside the class. And that will lay you the protection, or that will give you the protection that is required for your members now. Any doubts? We're using encapsulation already from day one. We are following encapsulation, and we have adopted the encapsulation in our day-to-day life also. To protect anything, we just try to wrap it. To protect anything, we just try to wrap it. We do it. See, in your home, your mother prepared the food. So prepared some sweets, something like that. After that, they are put in an airtight container and a lid is put in it now. So that is going to protect the food. The same principle only here we are applying. Second, abstraction. What is abstraction? What is abstraction? Abstraction means this is also hiding only. But abstraction is hiding the complexity. What is abstraction? Abstraction means hiding the complexity. What is that hiding the complexity? For example, we'll be having a confusion now. What are hiding data? What are hiding complexity? Both look similar, but what exactly is hiding the complexity means? We have abstraction in C language also, guys. We have abstraction in C language doesn't have encapsulation, but C language has abstraction. So what abstraction means? See, for example, you're driving a car, and all of us know that the car has an engine. Yes or not? And the engine controls the car. Like every car has an engine, and the engine is going to control the car. Now, tell me, as a driver of the car, do we require to know how the engine functions? Tell me, as a driver of the car, do we require to know how the engine functions? No, not required. Not required here. Why do you require to know how the engine functions? We don't know. You know how the engine functions are? We don't know. If the driver of the car requires to know how the engine functions here, only a mechanical engineer can drive a car. No one can drive a car now, because he only knows how the engine functions. You're a computer engineer now, and you don't know how the engine functions. Are you clear? Okay. So that is only what we call as abstraction. What is abstraction? Consuming the functionalities without knowing the complexity. Consuming the functionality without knowing the complexity. How to drive a car? I don't require to know how the engine functions here. I require to know how to operate the engine. And to operate the engine, I am provided with a clutch, the accelerator, the brake, the gear. If I operate all these things correctly, the engine is in my control and I can drive the car. Am I right or wrong? Understood my point? So that is what? I don't know the complexity behind it, but I know how to control the engine of the car. I know how to control the engine of the car. That is what we call as abstraction. Clear? Consuming the functionality without knowing the complexity. I did said you we have this in C language also. I did said you we have this in C language also. Why? Because remember, in C language also this particular flexibility is there. What is it? We have called functions in C. We have called functions in C. And Do we know the logic behind them? If I ask you a question, what happens internally when you call printf? If I ask you a question, what happens internally when you call printf? You called printf. What is the internal logic of printf? I don't know. What we know? Printf, format specifier, value. Will print me the result. But if the question is asked as, what is the internal logic of printf? There is no answer now. Following me or not? What is the internal logic of printf? There is no answer now. There is no answer for the internal logic of printf. Got it or not? Okay. So what we know? How to call printf? Same way. I don't know how the engine functions. What I know? How to drive the car. Clear? See, recently you called a sort method. And it sorted the values of the array. If the question is raised, what algorithm has been used for sorting the values of the array? I don't know. What I know how to call the sort method. Array dot sort. Pass the array for it, it will sort me. But how is it sorting? God knows. I don't know. Or the developer who written the logic knows now how this sorting is happening. But I don't know the logic behind it. I hope you guys are clear what I'm telling you. Yes or not? This is what we call as abstraction. What is that? Consuming the functionalities without knowing the complexity. You have abstraction in every inch of your life. You know how to make a phone call now? In a mobile phone. But if I ask you a question, how the radio signals are transmitted between your device and the other device? We don't have an answer. So if you to answer this, you need to be studying electronics and communication engineering. Then only you will be able to speak about it. Yes or not? Okay. Otherwise, we can't speak about this now. How the radio signals are transmitted between the devices. Who knows? I don't know. Am I clear? You have a watch. You know how to see the time. But you don't know how the watch functions. In every inch of your life, you come across abstraction. Clear? How you can use this in application development? Functions or methods are the good example for abstraction. Functions or methods are a good example for abstraction. This is a very good example for the abstraction basically. Okay now? Is abstraction clear? First one is wrapping. Second one is methods. Methods, man. Third one, inheritance. What is this inheritance? Basically, okay, if I ask you a question, do you have money in your pockets? I don't want your money here. Answer the question. You silent for everything. You don't have an answer for everything. Come on. How did you get it? You're not earning, right? You're not earning or you're not printing. Who given you? Why? Why did they give you? Because you're their children here. Simple answer. Because I'm the children and the lot else, all the property of the parents belongs to the children. That is what we call as inheritance. Understood? All the property of the parent belongs to the children and that's what we call as inheritance. What is inheritance? Inheritance means consuming the parents' members by the children. Parents' property by the children is what we call as inheritance. How can I use it in my application development? How can I use that in my application development? Very simple. Watch. This is a class and every class is a collection of members, right? And this class has a set of members in it now. Now, the same members of this class, I want in another class also now. Are you clear? Option one. Copy all the code here and paste it here now. Copy all the code here and paste it here. What do you call? Rewriting. What do you call? Procedural languages will do that only. Remember. Option 2. Don't copy paste. establish a relation between the two classes now. What relationship? And immediately the law comes into picture, telling that all the property of the parent can be consumed by the children. Are you clear? Are you rewriting or reusing? This is called as reusing. This is called as reusing. Point clearer? What inheritance provides you? Reusability. What inheritance provides us? Reusability. I can reuse the members of my parent class under the child class when there is a parent-child relationship. And don't forget this point. You're not the solo owner of your parents' property. Your brothers and sisters are the owners. Yes or not? Exactly. Why I'm telling you this is, a class can have n number of child classes under it now, not one man. N number. And all child classes can consume it. Are you clear? And remember, this is not rewriting the code. This is reusing the code. Okay? Reusing. So, first one is security. Second one is reusability. Na? Security is achieved through encapsulation. Reusability is achieved through inheritance. Inheritance provides you reusability now. Okay? Now, tell me, don't you know encapsulation? Are you not using encapsulation in your life? Tell me, are you using encapsulation in your life or not? See, wearing a dress is encapsulation only first. Are you using abstraction in your life? Every inch of your life is abstraction. You have a pen in your hands, you're writing with a pen. The ink flow flowing, friend, the ink is not coming back. Why? You have a mobile phone, you're using it, and you're making a call on the mobile phone, but you don't know how the mobile works exactly. But are you using a mobile or not? What we know? Green button to accept the call, red button to cut the call. That's all. Other than this, we don't know anything now. But still we are able to make a call on that. Got it? And inheritance. I don't require to talk about this one, because if that is not there, you're not there here now. If that is not there, you're not there here now. Are you clear? Inheritance. You're spending everything that is earned by your parents. Okay? So everything is a part of your life only here. But what are we learning, How to apply this in application development. Already we are using it in our life, and now we want to use this in application development. Last but not the least, what is it? Polymorphism. What is polymorphism? Polymorphism means behaving in different ways depending upon the input received. Behaving in different ways depending upon the input received is called as polymorphism. For example, you completed your annual examinations and now you're waiting for the results. One fine day, early in the morning, when you're sleeping, you got a call from your friend. You took the call and he said, did you check? The university has announced the results. The university has announced the results and said, congrats, you're the topper of the college. Congrats, you're the topper of the college. How do you feel? I think I said, you have a manufacturing defect first. If you don't have any feeling, you're required to consult a psychiatrist. There's something wrong. How do you feel means you put blank faces here. Participate in the class. You put your faces, why am I leaving this life here? Enjoy the life first. Understood? How do you feel? Proud? Happy? Immediately the WhatsApp status will change. Facebook status will change. You start telling this to everyone, your family members, everyone now. Yes or not? Okay. Let us talk this in another way. We got a call early in the morning. You took the call and your friend has said the university has announced the results and you have 3 backlogs in the exams. How do you feel? Sad? First thing, switch off the phone. Stay away from the social media. Close your doors, sit in the room. Don't talk to anyone. Am I correct? See, understand, you're the same person when you are the topper of the college, you have behaved in a different way. And when you have backlogs in the examination, you behaved in a different way. That's called as polymorphism. behaving in different ways depending upon the input received. First input is topper of the college. Second input is backlogs in the exam. So your behavior changed according to the input received now. So that's what. Behaving in different ways depending upon the input received is what we call as polymorphism. Am I clear? So this is called as polymorphism. So polymorphism is the inbuilt characteristics of everyone, man. And we cannot say we don't know polymorphism. I said you that only. If you don't know polymorphism, you have a problem and you're required to consult a psychiatrist now. Got it? Okay. So these are everything here is part and parcel of our life. But now we need to learn how to use them in application development. How to use them in the application development. So any language, if it satisfies these 4 rules or these 4 principles, we call that language as object oriented. You know one thing, even you don't satisfy at least one principle also, that cannot be called as object oriented. That cannot be called as object oriented. See, in 1991, I said you there is a language called Visual Basic, now called VB.NET. This Visual Basic language, basically guys, it supports encapsulation, it supports abstraction, it supports polymorphism, but it doesn't support inheritance. And that's why that Visual Basic is not a fully object-oriented language. It is called as object-based language, but not object-oriented. C++ is object-oriented. Java is object-oriented. C# is object-oriented. Python is object-oriented. And today's VB.NET is object-oriented. But VB is not object-oriented. VB means the old language. VB.NET is the modern. This is object-oriented, but that is not object-oriented. Clear? Okay? All 4 must be satisfied. You cannot skip anything. So when you're writing an examination, you need to pass all the subject. Then only you'll be considered as pass. You have 99% in all the subjects and 30 marks in one subject, you're failed only. You cannot say, I have 99 marks in all subjects. So what? You failed in one subject now. So here also, at least one rule not satisfied also, that language cannot be called as object-oriented. Required to satisfy all the rules. All the rules has to be satisfied to call a language as object-oriented. Clearer? Okay. Now let's try to understand how to apply or how to use all these particular things in our application development. How to use this in our application development, we'll try to understand. Okay. Yeah. So this will provide you what? Reusability. And this is like multiple behaviors. It's about multiple behaviors. Okay. Now, let us see one by one. First, we'll start from encapsulation. Encapsulation means wrapping the code inside a class. So, do you remember what is a class? What is it? It is a user-defined type, which is in turn a collection of members. It's a collection of members here. Like, what do you have? Fields, methods, constructors, finalizers, properties, indexers, events, and deconstructors. From day one, I was telling you one thing, a class is a collection of members. In C++ language, we called variables and functions. In C++, I said you variables and variables and Java, I said you variables and methods. In C#, fields and methods. Not only fields and methods here, a class can contain 8 different types of members in it. What are the 8? Fields, methods, constructor, finalizer, property, indexer, events, deconstructors. See, in an organization, there is a sales manager, there is a finance manager, there is a marketing manager, there is a HR manager. We'll all do the same work. Everyone has a different type of work to do here. Depending upon the work, we have an appropriate person to do that work now. Exactly here also, we have different types of members in a class now. Every member does a different work in the class. Every member will do a different work in the class. And already you know about fields, man. Fields are used for holding a value under the class. Fields are used for holding a value under the class. We declare a field and we'll store a value inside of it now. And you can use that value in the class. You know fields now? Field means a global variable. Don't forget again. Variable is different. Field is different for us. For us, variable means local. Field means global. So this field is used for holding some value under the class. And I already explained about fields. I'm not giving an explanation about fields again to you. But we will use fields going forward from now onwards in all. Next, methods. Today, let us start our discussion from here. What is it? Method. What is a method? What is a method? It is a named block of code that can be reused. Printf. It's a named block of code here. Whenever you call that, it is executing the logic already implemented inside of it now. And every function is a block of code now. You written functions in C language now. What is a function? A block of code. And whenever you call that, it will execute you some logic. Exactly. What is a method? It is a named block of code that can be reused. That can be reused. Okay. By calling it whenever and wherever it is needed. Whenever and wherever it is needed. Clearer or not? Okay. Methods are earlier called as functions. You know this already. Methods are earlier called as functions. And now, okay, earlier called as functions. And a function is also a named block of code. A function is also a named block of code. Both are same only, nothing different. Okay, but why the terminology has been changed? Why the terminology has been changed? Listen. Function is a block of code that performs an action when it is called. You called printf. It will perform an action of printing the output on the monitor now. You called sort. It performs an action of sorting the values of an array. So it will do an action now. Function is a block of code that performs an action when it is called. You called it, it performs an action. Clearer or not? Okay. And as per the rule of function, it has to return a value back after completing the execution. Did you understand this, all of you? That is, a function should be a Did you understand? A function should be a value returning block of code. It should be a value returning block of code. If you use the word function, that should be value returning. If you use the word function, that should be. But do you remember in C language, we learnt about two types of functions. What are the two types? Value returning functions, non-value returning functions. Yes or not? That's a big blunder here. It's a big blunder. What is the blunder? Array, when you say function, it should return a value, man. But what are you telling? Non-value returning function. This is combining two opposite words now. Non-value returning, you're telling? Again, you're telling function. Function means must return a value. Then only you call it as a function. If it doesn't return a value, we cannot call that as a function at all. But unfortunately, in C language, value returning is also called as function only. Non-value returning is also called function. That is why the terminology has been changed to method. Is it clearer or not? That is why terminology is changed to method. See, method is a block of code that performs an action when it is called, and after completion of the action, it may or may not return any results. It may or may not return any results. So, they are of two types. They are of two types. What are the two types? First one, second one, non-value returning methods. You know one thing? If it is value returning, you can call it as a function. Today, in C#, if I say function, what is the meaning, Value returning method. Understood? But in C language, function means can be value returning also, can be non-value returning also, but there's a blunder. Function means value returning. What do you call non-value returning, They are called as subroutines. What do you call? Subroutine. Non-value returning methods are called as subroutines, and value returning methods are called as functions. So these are the two categorizations. One is function and one is subroutine. Function and subroutine are the two classifications what we just have here. I hope you are clear. Understood all of you? Okay. So this is all what you see. What is this terminal? I don't understand. Function may be called as input value that get output. It is wrong here. The statement is meaningless first. That statement itself is meaningless. What are the input values, output values? Okay. So what is a function? Value returning method. Value returning method. What is subroutine? Non-value returning method. Okay. Fine. How do we write a method? How do we write a method? Okay. Already every day we are writing one method in our class. What method? Main method. Main method. But apart from main method, we want to define our own methods. A method for adding two numbers, a method for subtracting two numbers, a method for saving data to database, a method for loading data from database. I want to write different methods in my code now. And every method will provide you reusability. Okay. So this is the syntax. Modifiers, void or type, name. Parameter list. Write your statements or logic inside of it. Okay. So this is the syntax to define a method. Modifiers, void or type, name, parameter list, statements or the logic. Is it clear? Okay. So this is the syntax to define a method. This is the syntax to define a method. Fine. What are modifiers? Modifiers are some special keywords here. Modifiers are some special keywords that you can use on a method. These are some special keywords that can be used on a method like public, private. So many are there. Internal, static. We can use them on our methods, but using them is not mandatory here. Using them is only optional. And if you don't use any modifier, remember default is private. Every member is by default private. Every type is by default internal. Last class only said your types are internal. Members are private. Okay now? Next, void or type. What is void or type? Void or type, that is only which tells you it is value returning or non-value returning now. If I use void, the method is non-value returning. The method is non-value returning. If I want to return a value, then I should use the type now. I should use the type and I should tell what type of value it returns. What I should tell? What type of value it returns, whether integer, double, boolean, float, string, object, whatever it returns, I should tell it now. That is what void or type is. If it is void, non-value returning, and if it is value returning, tell the type of value it has to return. That is type. Next one, name. Name of the method. Printf is a name. Right line is a name. Sort is a name. Reverse is a name. Like this, you need to give a name for your method now. Next, parameter list. Parameter list is used for passing some inputs into the method for execution. Parameter list is used for passing some inputs into a method for execution and is only optional, just like string args parameter of the main. You may use it, you may not use it. You may use it also, you may not use it also. Okay, string args parameter of the main method. Like this, we can also define our own parameters. And then comes the logic. You can implement your logic inside. Let me show you an example. Actually, we can divide methods in 4 types here. Methods are divided into 4 types. What are the 4 types? First one. The first classification. Non-value returning methods without parameters. Second. With parameters. Third. Value returning methods without parameters. 4. Understood? Value returning methods with parameters. Like this, there are 4 classifications. Let us try to define 4 methods now in all the 4 patterns. First one, what is a method? I said you a named block of code. And whenever you call it, it will perform that action to you now. It will execute that logic now. Okay. Can you help me? I want to write a method. And what the method has to do, the method has to print me the multiplication table of 5 whenever I call it. And I want a method here. When I call the method, it has to print me multiplication table of 5 now. Okay, come on, let's try. Modifier, I'm using public men. And void or type, I'm choosing void, non-value returning. Next, name of the method. Any name you like now. Test 1. Now, parameters are optional. I'm not using anything. Now see, this is a perfect example for the first type. Non-value returning method without parameters. See, it is a void method and also no parameters. Point clear? Okay. So non-value returning methods without parameters. So how do you write the logic? Watch. I want to print the multiplication table of 5. Okay, let's write the logic. Int x is equals to 5. For int I is equals to 1. I less than or equal to 10. I plus plus. Console dot write line. Dollar x into I is equals to x into I. I already taught you this logic. So what it will print you? It will print me a multiplication table of 5 from 1 to 10. 5 ones are 5, 5 twos are 10 until 5 tens are 50. That's what it prints me now. Is it clear? Non-value returning method without parameters. Any doubts? Understood? Now tell me, is this method dynamica statica? Is this method dynamica statica? This is static here, not dynamic. Why? I can call this method for any number of times. But every time I call it will print me multiplication table of 5 only. Correct or not? Every time it will print me multiplication table of. So how can I call it as a dynamic now? It is not dynamic here. This method is static in behavior. This method is static in behavior. See? Static in behavior. So any guess now how to make it dynamic? I want it to be dynamic. What do you mean by that? It has to print me the multiplication table of the number what I pass. Did you understand? What should I do? Pass a parameter. Pass a parameter. So let us rewrite this method now with parameters now. How do you write? Public void test2 int x. So when I use a parameter, tell me whenever I call the method, can I pass a value to it or not? Write line is a dynamic method. Will print the result of the parameter you passed for it now. You pass an integer, it will print you that integer value. If you pass a string, it will print you the string value. If you pass a double, it will print you the double value. Correct? It is not printing only one particular value or whatever you pass, that is printing now. Same way, now I can pass input to this particular method, any number I like, and that has to print me the multiplication table now. What is the logic? Same logic only. Same logic only, man. Now see this example for non-value returning method with parameters. It has a parameter thing. Are you clear? It has a parameter. But this is also non-value returning only. But it has a parameter. Now did you understand what is the need of parameters? What is the need of parameter? Making dynamic. Parameters of a method will make an action dynamic. See, method is an action. Method is an. So to make that action dynamic, we use parameters now. See this. This is a method. And this is not dynamic. It is static. Why? I call this method 100 times. 100 times, what is the output? 5. But if I call this method 100 times, 100 times I can print the multiplication table of 100 different numbers now. First time I call, I'll pass 5. Second time I'll pass 12. Third time I pass 23. Fourth time I'm calling 9. Fifth time I'm calling 46. Whatever number you pass, it will print the multiplication table of that number now. So this is statica, dynamica. This is dynamic in behavior. Dynamic in behavior. Yeah, someone message not understood. What is confusing here? Tell me. For this, how to pass? When you are calling, that is secondary. Na? First to understand how to define a method, then we'll call it. See man, you learned in C language. First you write a function, then you call a function. While calling, we'll pass the value. Not while writing. While writing, we don't pass the value. See, till now, you called functions. Did you write them? Did you write them? Someone written and you called it by passing values. Now, you are only writing and you are only going to call it. Tomorrow, someone can also call them now. I have written, you can call. Got it or not? While calling, we pass the values. That is what we'll see when you're calling. So now, so this is dynamic in behavior. Are you clear? And what is the need of parameters means? Parameters are used for making an action dynamic because the method is action. And that actions can become dynamic with the help of parameters. Okay. Now, first one will print a multiplication table of 5 from 1 to 10. Second one will print the multiplication table of the given number from 1 to 10. Correct? But still, I'm expecting something like this. What, the second method should print me the multiplication table of the given number up to the given upper bound. What do you mean? I want the multiplication table of 7 from 1 to 12. I want the multiplication table of 8 from 1 to 15. I want the multiplication table of 9 from 1 to 20. Did you understand? I want different. Lower bound is fixed, one only. Upper bound, varying now. Okay, let's do one thing. Comma. Now I'm passing 7, 12. What will you print here? Multiplication table of 7 from 1 to 12. 8, 15. Multiplication table of 8 from 1 to 15. 9, 20. Multiplication table of 9 from 1 to 20. That is how it works. Is it clear, all of you? Okay. And both these two are non-value. One without parameters, one with parameters. One is without parameters and one is with parameters. Are you clearer or not? Okay, like this. Now, let us understand the other one. What is it? Value returning method without parameters. Okay, just watch it. Public string test 3. See now, it's a value returning method. What is the value it returns? String. It returns a string. It returns a string. Say, get length is a value returning method. When you call get length, it was returning the number of rows and number of columns. Correct? Sort is a non-value returning method. Sort is a, when you call sort, it will sort you the values but doesn't return anything now. You are again reprinting that explicitly. Are you getting me? Or otherwise, write line is a non-value returning method. Write line will print the output of the monitor. It doesn't give anything in the program back again. Read line, value returning. It returns a value. It returns a value. What value? The value it has read from the user. Write line, non-value returning. Okay? Again, get length, value returning. Sort, reverse, copy. Go and check it out your notes. I clearly mentioned void. I said you on that day. That void indicates non-value returning. But for get length, I said you int. Return type is integer there. Return type is integer, which will tell you number of rows. Now, what is the return type? This method will return a string result. Will return a string result. What is the logic you're writing? Watch. String str is equals to hello world. Okay, now? And I want to do something. What is it? I want to convert this string into uppercase now. I want to convert this string into uppercase. To upper. We'll convert the string into uppercase. Finally, see what is the action I am doing? What is the action I am doing? The action you're doing is converting a string into uppercase. That is an action you're doing now. And after completing the action, the result you got now, I'm sending the result back now. I'm sending the result. I'll tell you in a simple way. I have asked you, I've given you a task. I've given you a task now. So today go home and do this task and see the result. I asked you, go home, do this task and see the result. All of you went home, completed the task. Next day you came to the class, but you did not report me anything now. You did not tell me whether you done it or did not do. You came silently, sat in the class, completed, you went off. But you did not tell me whether you completed that action or not and what result you got. This is what we call as non-value returning. You done it, but you did not tell me. What is value returning? What is value returning? You completed the task. Next day came to the class, came to me and said that, sir, we have done this and this is the result I got. Whether this is right or wrong, you are telling me now. And that is called as value returning. Just completing an action is non-value returning. Doing an action and giving the result is value returning. Okay. So this is doing an action. What is the action? Converting the string into uppercase, returning the result. Okay. So this is a, so tell me, static or dynamic? Static. Why? When you say without parameters, that is static. So this is, how can you make it dynamic? By passing parameters. By passing parameters, you can make it dynamic. Na? Come and help me. Public string test for string str. What is the logic? Str is equals to str dot to upper return str. Return str. Now here we're taken a static string, but here we're using a dynamic string. And this is dynamic in behavior. The previous one is static in behavior, and this is dynamic in behavior. Like this, we just have 4 different methods. Are you guys clearer? Understood? Okay, like this, you just have 4 different methods what you've written. Are you clear with all the 4 categorizations now? Value returning, non-value returning, parameterized, non-parameterized. 4 types. Okay, fine. Next, I have a question. What the question is? The question is, where do we define methods and why? Inside a class. Why? Just one word. Encapsulation here. Why you're telling all the nonsense? Morning I said you know, not security. Encapsulation. Encapsulation provides security. Don't say security. What you should say? Methods should be defined inside of a class as per the rule of encapsulation. That's what encapsulation is telling you first. You need to write all this code inside a class. Okay? So what is the answer? We define methods inside of a class as per the rule of encapsulation. As per the rule of encapsulation. Point clear? Okay. We'll define this in a class now. We'll define this in a class. Come on, observe it. I am opening a new project. I hope all of you tried everything. Console app. Give a name for your project. I'm giving the name as Oops Project. Oops Project. Don't, no spaces anywhere, no special characters anywhere. Be careful. Follow Pascal case pattern. That's it. Folder C# 11. Rest all I said you, leave like that. Click on next. Now choose your version. Let us go with the latest 9. 8 also no issue. But both are advanced versions only. 8 also no problem. 9 also no problem. Next. Rest all checkboxes should be unchecked. Do not use top level statements again. It won't generate you the class if you check this checkbox. Okay. So click on create. And we know that by default, the project comes with a class, right? Which class? program class, internal added, see, internal class program, and there is no using statement. Why? Global imports are already available. Global imports are already available. You can see here, global imports. And then if you open the project file, all attributes we know here. I explained you in detail about everything. Okay, now, fine. Now, as per the rule of encapsulation, you need to define the methods in the class now. Okay, let us copy all these 4 methods. Paste. Are you clear? So pasting all the 4 methods in the class now. You're pasting all the 4 methods in the class. Well and good. So we completed our first rule. What is that? Method should be defined inside a class as per the rule of encapsulation. Okay. Next. When will the methods defined in a class gets answer? After they are called. After they are called. The methods defined in a class gets executed only after they are called. What is that? The methods defined in a class gets executed only after they are called for execution. Only after they are called for execution. We need to call them. We need to call them basically. Are you clear? Okay, we need to call them explicitly for execution. Without calling, no method gets executed. Without calling, no method gets executed. We need to call them. Okay, next. How to call a method for execution. How to call a method for execution. Okay, see, not about a method, not about a method. When will the methods defined in a class gets executed means, see, just a second, I want to change the statement. Every member that is defined in a class gets executed only after they are called. Only after they are called. Any member here, that can be a method, that can be a property. I said you a list of 8 members, remember? Every method executes only after they are called. Without calling, nothing gets executed. Okay? How to call a method? See, how to call a method for execution? Listen this carefully. Members of a class are divided into 2 types. We already learned about this, guys. Remember, recollect. Remember this or not? Members are 2 types, non-static and static. Okay? And next, by default, every member is non-static only, and to make a member as static, we need to prefix the keyword before it, just like we are doing it every day with main method. Array, if you don't use a prefix, it is not static, man. Are you clearer or not? Okay. So by default, every member is non-static member. Every member is non-static only. And to make any member as static, we need to prefix the static keyword. We need to prefix static keyword before it, just like we are doing it every day with main method. Any doubts? By default, everything is non-static. Okay, next. We learned about this point also, recollect. What is it? If a member is static, we can call it directly by prefixing the class name. For example, console dot write line, console dot clear, right? Convert dot 2 into 32, array dot sort. All these are static only, man. All these are static only. And you're prefixing the class name now. So write line, read line, clear. All methods you called. Convert dot 2 into 32, convert dot 2 string, convert dot 2 double, array dot sort, array dot reverse, array dot copy. You called it every day till now from the last 1 week. Okay? If a member is non-static, we should first create instance. For us, it is instance. You can also call object, but our terminology is instance. Instance of the class in which they are defined, and call them by prefixing the instance. For example, arr dot go and check it out. You called get length and length not by array dot. You called it as arr dot. And on that day, I did not explain you because we don't know all these things earlier. I did not explain you. But now is the time for you to understand, man. How did we call get length? Arr dot get length. Why? Because get length is a non-static member. Length is a non-static member. Sort, reverse, copy are static. Check out your notes as how you called sort, reverse, and copy, and how you called get length and length. Is it clear, all of you? Yes or not? Okay, that is how you're just going to call the appropriate thing. I dot get type. That is also non-static only. You did not call it as int dot get type. How did you call? I dot get type. But how do you call parse? Int dot parse. Parse is static, man. Int dot parse. But how do you call get length? Sorry, get type? I dot. So you're calling it on the instance now, not on the type. Okay. So if a member is non-static, we should first create instance or object of the class in which they are defined, and then call them by prefixing the instance. For example, arr.getLength and arr.length. Okay. Not only this, arr.getLength, arr.length, I dot. Like this. Okay. Now tell me. You defined 4 methods in your class now. They are static or non-static. All the 4 are non-static only. All the 4 are non-static only. And you'll be wondering, sir, you said static. I did not say static method here. I said you static in behavior. This static is opposite to dynamic. They are not static. All are non-static only. Check that. None of them you used a static keyword. There's only one static method in your class. Main. Main is only static. Rest all are non-static only. So how should we call them? The 4 methods we defined in in the project are non-static only. So we need to call them by prefixing the instance. That is the final conclusion now. We should call them by prefixing the, got a clarity? How to call? By prefixing the instance. Okay, if that is the case, we need to learn what? What? How to create instance of a class. We need to understand how to create instance of a class now. Okay? See, syntax to create instance of a class. Syntax to create instance of a class. Carefully watch it. Class name, instance name is equals to new class name. New class name. That is optional. That is optional. What is your class name? Tell me. Program. Yeah, your class name is program. Instance name. Instance name is any name of your choice now. P is equals to new. That's it. That's how you create now. A list of values are optional. When the time comes, we'll talk about it. Program P is equals to new program. What is this? This is both the declaration and initialization here. You can break it now. Help me. Program P. What is this? Declaration. P is equals to new program. What is this? Initialization. The first one is declaration and initialization. Second one, declaration and separate initialization. Hope you are clear. Understood all of you? So this is how you create the instance. So shall we try this now? Okay, but to try this, first we need to understand here, where should I create the instance? Where should we create the instance of class inside the class? Again, you will say inside the class. That's why I asked you like this. Array, instance is created inside only here. You won't create outside, nah. Where is that inside? In the wrong answer. Wrong answer. Listen. Instance of a class can be created either within the same class as well as in. First, to put this in the mind. Don't think like you can create instance within the class only. You can create instance in another class also. Are you getting me? In your class, you are declaring a string. Yes or not? Declaring a string is creating instance of the string now. And that is a separate class. And the instance is created in your class. And this tells you about reusability, man. You can create instance of a class in the same class also. Another class also. Are you getting me? Okay. Next. If the instance is created in same class, then it should be done under a static block of the class. Where you should create static block of the class. Generally, we create instances under main method because it is a Ray, you don't create instance in main method. Yeah, instance is created under static block. And why do we create instance in main? Because main is static block. Are you getting me or not? And moreover, this is the reason why you create the instance in the main method. It's not like we should create in main method. Did you understand me or not? It is not like we should create in main method here. The reason to create under main method is two reasons are there. One reason, static block. Another reason, entry point. But you can create an instance in any static block of the class. You can create an instance in any. Okay, sir. If I create in another class, see, if the instance is created in another class, then it can be created Did you understand? I'm not just only telling and leaving, I'll show you everything to you in detail. First one, where is it asking to create? Within the class. Within the class means static block. Don't say within the class main method, that is wrong answer. Within the class, static block. Out of the class, any block. Out of the class, tomorrow, this program class instance, I want to create in another class now. Where should I create? Anywhere in the class. But we are creating within the class. Don't forget, it should be created under static block only. Only under static block. And the reason why the instance creation will always be done in main method is because main is a static block. Okay, now? Shall we do it now? Come on. I have a main method in the code now. Static block is ready now. So can I create the instance? Program P is equals to new program. Now P dot IntelliSense, showing you the list of all the methods. Not only just simply showing you guys, it will tell you the signatures of all the methods now when you're calling. When you're calling these particular methods, it will tell you, say, first method is non-value returning. Same as test 2, non-value returning but expects 2 parameters. Test 3, value returning, no parameter. Test 4. In C language, if you want to call a method here, first you should know what it takes, what it returns, then only you can call. But a studio will tell you everything to you. Understood? Let us call the first method. Which method? Test 1. What will this method do? Prints multiplication table of 5. Okay, let us execute and see. F5. Got it? Now, look at this. What I mean by static in behavior, I'll tell you. I'm adding a line break. And again, I'm calling the same method. Array, now also I'll get the same result here. 10 times I call, 10 times it will show me same result only now. See, first call also same. Why you want to use the same behavior multiple times now? See, always eating the same food will be bored, na? Every day you eat the same food, bored, same curry. It is boring now. Understood? Exactly. The same method always. It's not right. But second one is dynamic, I said, you know. What the dynamic watch? Now I'm calling the second method. Second method takes 2 parameters. What is the first parameter? Which number? Up to what? Upper bound. So this will print me a multiplication table of 7 up to 12, right? First one is again same only, no change. Second method is printing multiplication table 7 up to 12. Now, using the same second method, now again I'm trying to say P dot test 2 and print me multiplication table of 9 up to 15. I'll get a new result now. Yeah, someone asking the question, how do you pass the input, sir? Like this, when you're calling. You can call a method 100 times here. 100 times you can call 100 different inputs now. And you'll get 100 different results. Statica, dynamica. Parameters will make a method dynamic. Okay, run and see. See there, 7, 9. Okay, are you clearer? So that's what mean by dynamic. Next, let's call, what are you calling here? Calling, sorry, non-value returning methods. And now calling value returning methods. Okay, p dot test 3. Guys, this method doesn't print anything on the monitor. Watch it, you don't get any result. It's not printing anything on the monitor. Why? This method returns a value which should be captured. How? Just like you're capturing the value of read line. See now, capture the result. After capturing the result, again, we need to say, yes. Now you will see the output. These are value returning. Understood? This is static or dynamic. 10 times it will give you hello world only. But how to make it dynamic? This is dynamic. I can pass a different input here now and get the response. And see, the latest version of the Visual Studio is AI enabled. It will show you the next line what should be the code. This is the reason why I did not show you Visual Studio till now. Array, the next line should be console.writeline S2 man. Clearly telling you, no need to type that also, Tab key, finish. Just a tab key. It is showing you a hint. Is it you want? Then click a tab key. I'll write the code for you now. It generates the code automatically. Okay? I can call the same method one more time and pass a different input and get a different output now. Correct? So that is what? These two are dynamic. What two are dynamic? 2 is dynamic. 4 is dynamic. What is static? 1 is static. And 3 is also static. Those two will give you same results. Now tell me, can I call these methods from another class? Yes, I can call. That is what object-oriented programming is. I can call these methods in another class. How, sir? Go to another class, create the instance of the class there and call the method. Same code. What is this? You can write this code as it is in another class now and execute it. There also you will get the result. Are you following me? That is what we call reusability in object-oriented programming. Okay, I will show you that practically in the next session. Meanwhile, all of you try this first. Everything I said to you is in the notes. Read it. Whatever point I said to you, question and answers also in the notes it is present. Okay, see, encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, class, collection of members, all these categorizations. What is a method? Value returning, non-value returning, syntax, the syntax to write a method. Okay, the syntax to write a method. What is a modifier? Void or type, non-value returning, value returning. Okay, we'll talk on this. Name, parameter list. How do you pass parameters? See, parameters will make a method dynamic now. Next, where should we define method? How to execute the method? How to call a method that is defined in a class? Non-static. And what is static and what is non-static? Then, how to create instance? Where to create instance? Every point was given in detail for you. That's why whoever is writing in the classroom, you're wasting your time is what I say. Focus on the class here. Every point is in the notes now. Just understand what I'm telling you. You're busy writing and you're missing the points what I'm telling you. That's what I want to tell you. Okay, and then I opened a new project. Oops project. By default, there is a class program. What did I do, by default? And write the code in that particular place. You are going to write the code. See all these methods I added now. First one, test 2, test 3, test 4. Then main instance created. Write this code, add a breakpoint, and debug your code now. And watch whether line by line execution of the code is happening or not. Are you clear? Try this, guys. Do an immediate try. Don't put any pendings, I'm telling you. Complete it today only. Tomorrow I'll teach you how to create the instance of the class in another class. And one more thing about instance creation. I did not talk anything about it because right now we are learning about methods. Suddenly, if I again talk in the middle about instance creations only, it will be confusing. Let us complete the discussion on methods. Once we are completely aware of methods, I will take a complete session to you to explain you about instance creation in detail. What will happen when you create an instance? Why are we creating the instance? And all these things. And object and instance both are same. Some languages call it object, some languages call it as instance. Okay? So now don't focus on instance creation, only focus on methods, calling them. I will tell you about instance creations and all in detail in the next classes. Okay now? Let's stop it here. We'll meet tomorrow.